2 days ago, Mark Carney spent 17 minutes blaming Trump for 11 years of terrible liberal policies. Yesterday, Trump fired back at Carney, telling him to be grateful and that Canada lives because of the US. And today, obviously, Mark Carney answered him, and you will not believe what he said. My name is Nico Lagan, and I'm too conservative for the conservatives. My co host, Rob Ambrose, not woke enough for the liberals. We are the political orphans. It feels like a WWE show for adults, and we're just being entertained by those two guys. They're just going one after the other. But as you will see in a second, as I was watching this video, it took me a minute to. I was asking myself, is this real? This can't be real. This has to be a joke. But it reminded me of the election process in the US, when Kamala Harris replaced Donald Trump, not Donald Trump, sorry, but Joe Biden. And she went on those massive word salads that meant absolutely nothing. Well, listen to the video that Mark Carney, and this is brand new. This was posted about 4 or 5 hours ago.
We must unburden ourselves from the things that we must unburden ourselves from the things that have come before us. Or like, shut the fuck up, man. What are you doing?
But listen to this one. Mark Carney is borrowing the book from Kamala, the queen of the world of the word salads. But listen to this. This is Mark Carney, elbows up, standing up to Trump.
We live our values. We grow as individuals, and we build as a people. When we're kind, kindness grows. When we're united, unity grows. When we're Canadian, inclusive, fair, ambitious, Canada grows.
But listen to this part.
Canada and the United States have built a remarkable partnership in the economy, in security, and in rich cultural exchange. But Canada doesn't live because of the United States. Canada thrives because we are Canadian.
What? No.
Listen to this. Let's play it again. Let's play that part again.
Canada doesn't live because of the United States. Canada thrives because we are Canadian.
That doesn't make any sense. Like, I mean,
and people are just applauding, just like,
oh my
bravo,
God. Like,
bravo, Camilla, bravo. I mean, Mark Carney, bravo.
It's just wild, man. Like, there's things you could have actually said there that would have made more sense, right? You could have been like, Canada thrives because we're, a hardworking, industrious people, and we have rule of law or whatever. It might all be bullshit, but it makes a certain amount of sense. Say we thrive because we're Canadian is stupid. It doesn't make any sense at all. So if you change Somalia, if you change the name of Somalia to Canada, and all Somalians were now Canadians, would that then become a thriving first world country? I don't think so. I got a feeling it's not the name. It's not the name that does it.
Oh, see, David has a good point. This is a Molson ad, right?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, no shit.
We thrives because we are Canadian. Like, what does
Mike
that
Myers
mean?
comes out. Mike Myers comes out in his hockey jersey.
The Canadian that's been living in America for 30 years that doesn't live here at all, telling a European dude that hasn't lived here for 10, 20 years that elbows up, this is the Canadian thing to do. And now we have a prime minister of Canada that's telling us that the reason we don't need the US or we don't live because of the US, because Canadians will thrive because we are Canadians. That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Like, we thrive. Canada thrives because we are Canadian.
I mean, I even get why he might have wanted to respond to that, but like, bro, like, come up with better reasons. There's actual reasons. We could say something like, because we live in a resource-rich country or something like that. Nope, just because we're Canadians.
And that's the part that bothers me the most. And where's the comment? Where's the comment? Oh man, where did the comment go? Oh, there you go. So Wilf is saying, just think how intelligent the people that support this are. And the people are clapping just like, oh.
That's amazing. Brilliant. Bravo.
But I don't know if you saw that on X, but throughout the day, I kept on seeing people. I follow a lot of leftist, woke, elbows up people to know what they're talking about on that side of the fence. And I've seen at least 4 or 5 massive content creators, independent media, as they like to call themselves, saying that Mark Carney is now the leader of the free world. I'm like,
I've seen that.
I'm like, are you kidding me? Hold on. This is the dude that is pushing Bill C2, C8, C9, C12, C16, C63. That just dropped a gun grab on us. So he's pushing censorship, surveillance, and disarming its people. This is the person that's telling us that Trump is the problem, not the 11 years of liberal policies that kept our natural resources in the ground instead of us becoming the superpower that we should be. That's the guy that's aligning with China, the communist country of China that is ruled by a dictator. And we need to align with China because big bad orange men bad.
Yeah.
But China good. Like, are we living in, I feel sometimes that we live in a very bad episode of the Twilight Zone. And again, I'm the guy on the side of, the hobo that has a massive beard that's all dirty. He's like,
the end of the world is coming. With the sign. Yeah.
That's how I feel, man.
Repent.
The world is ending. The apocalypse is coming. And that's how I feel, man. I'm talking about this shit, and I really feel like in a bad episode of the Twilight Zone where I'm just like, I feel I'm the only sane one, and I'm surrounded by crazy people. I'm like, you guys can't be serious.
Yeah, and I mean, look, like, I'll try to be a little bit, a tiny bit more charitable. There is a way Carney could have gotten a little bit closer to China in a way that would have been maybe smart. But that relies on not antagonizing America. Like, if you're able to thread that needle, that's pretty solid, diplomacy, in my opinion. If you're able to get closer ties economically and open some trade agreements with the second largest economy in the world, while not pissing off your neighbor to your south, the largest economy in the world, that's responsible for 80% of your trade, then yeah, that might make a little bit of sense. But that's not what's going on here. This rush into Xi's arms is directly related to just pissing off Trump, and that's a fucking disaster waiting to happen. That Kuzma agreement is up for negotiation this summer, and the kind of shit that Mark's doing now is almost guaranteed to cause Trump just to be like, you know what, fuck it, we don't need it. I heard Trump was asked the other day about it. How do you feel about China and Canada, or like Canada and China signing these agreements and getting closer? And his response, frankly, should be very worrying, because if he was blustering and being like, "Oh, Mark Carney, he's an idiot," blah blah blah, you might be like, "Okay, that's just Trump being Trump." But he was like, "No, I think it's great. I think countries should do whatever they want to do." And when I heard that, I was like, "Oh fuck, that don't sound good. That sounds like he's got something in the chamber there." It sounds like he's already made a decision.
And he probably has. He probably has taken a decision, like made a decision. Because I don't know if you heard about this, but there's rumors, at least he kind of addressed it, but not really. Like, there's no details that came out yet. But he dances basically around there's a deal with Greenland. He doesn't need to acquire it anymore. What I've heard is that he's going to obtain everything that he wanted without having to buy it. So instead of giving them billions of dollars, here's everything you wanted for free, bruh. But that leaves Canada in a very, very weird spot, because you literally have the US, you have Alaska, Then in the middle, you have Canada, and then Greenland is basically becoming somewhat of a not owned American island. So what are you supposed to, like, you know that he's going to be coming after Canada afterwards. You know that something's coming our way. That's the Northwest Passage, like I've been talking about a lot. Like, he's, even in his speech yesterday, he referred to the principles of the Monroe Doctrine. He didn't say it, but he kept on referring that it was the job of the U.S. to protect the Western Hemisphere. I played that video yesterday. So everything seems to be falling in place, that's where we're headed. So, and that's what I was just talking about, because I just recorded with David Creighton and his internet crap, and I was talking to the people listening, and we're sold two different ideas right now. Carney is a globalist. I think we all agree on that. Yep. He wants to align with China. Trump is kind of the savior that wants to fight the New World Order. This is the image that we're being portrayed right now. Yep. But yet when they meet, they're very friendly. Brookfield through Westinghouse just signed a $80 billion contract with the U.S. for a bunch of nuclear reactors. So Trump is doing business with Brookfield. He fully know that Mark is part of Brookfield, even though they're trying to tell us he's not. But it seems no matter where you look, if you start asking questions, it's like, are we getting played from both sides right now? Trump and Carney, because that could be absolutely, it's very easy for me to see that Carney's playing the game, Trump's playing the game in order to create the Club of Rome map.
Yep.
And
I mean,
wherever you look, it's like, no, but all I'm saying is wherever you look, it seems that this is the path. Because what a better idea than to say, oh, Trump is fighting the NWO, so we have to trust this guy. And then turn around and Mark Carney's just playing his role, just like Pierre Poilievre is playing the role of the controlled opposition, offering a fake sentiment of choice, like the illusion of choice in Canada. Mark Carney could be doing the same thing. It just never ends now. It's such a fucking comedy that we're living on right now, and not a very good one, may I say, that you can't stop but asking those questions.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the adversary is a lot of a show that they put on, because, like you said, they're doing business together. There's no Trump's a deal maker. He'll make deals with anyone. I think I don't know that they have the same geopolitical world vision, but it's hard to tell, to suss out exactly what's going on. I tell you one thing about
suss out. Is that what you just said? I'm like, suss out. I'm like, what the fuck's a suss? That doesn't sound very masculine. It's probably a liberal term.
Suss it out. No, it's a real word. It's not a liberal word. It's just suss it out. Suss it out, boy.
That's exactly what it sounded like. Exactly. You had a massive lisp. Suss it out. Suss it out. That's exactly what it sounded like.
If you have
welcome to the Political Orphans. If it's your first time here, we make fun of gay people because obviously Rob is the representative of the homosexuals on the show. As a liberal, obviously.
Bro, I'm fucking... it's not actually true. But yeah, if you had a lisp, that would be the worst. That'd be a nightmare to say. A nightmare word to say. Stop it out.
Yeah.
But one thing that, it struck me today, I'm like, you know what, man, for like Trump or hate him, like, one thing he's absolutely laid waste to is just this total inertia that's been built into the Western politics for the last 20 years. So when I say inertia, I mean shit never gets fucking done, right? It takes 20 years to get a nuclear plant built, all the permitting, all the red tape. Trump comes in and he shows you can actually get shit done if you just have the will to do it. I'm not even talking about if you like the things he's doing or not. That's a separate conversation. But he is doing shit fast, very fast. You look at the illegal entries, the migrants on the border. fucking plummeted to like multi-decade lows. Fentanyl deaths plummeted through the fucking ground, down like 40% or something. Now you've got this, he's got some fucking geopolitical agreement on Greenland. That would have taken, a traditional Western leader 10 or 15 years to do. You got it done in 2 or 3 months. So shit can get done if people actually want to get it done. And, like I said, and this is, agree with what he's doing or not, everybody should start, right or left, should start looking very hard at our political leaders and ask, are these guys even fucking trying? Like, what are these clowns doing?
Or,
yeah, I know the angle you're going to take on this.
It's just
they're doing it on purpose.
That's exactly. But think about it this way: if again, I'm a sales engineer by trade, so I made a lot of money building solution, back engineering people's goals. That's what you want. Okay, cool. We'll build a solution. We'll backtrack. We'll reverse engineer a solution for you. But you need to know what the goal is. If you tell me your goal, I can create a solution. If the goal is one world government, this would be the perfect game plan to have Canada. Maybe Mark Carney's job is like I've been saying all along. Mark Carney's job is to finish what Trudeau started. But I've been saying this ever since Mark Carney came into play. Maybe I was more right than I actually thought, that Mark Carney is just here to create so much bullshit between Canada, the US, by aligning with China and Europe, that Canadians are going to ask to be part of the US. Like, it's going to destroy us so much that people are just going to say, screw this. We'd rather be part of the US. And there you go. You have your Club of Rome's map of North America, plus a little Venezuela at the bottom. But you know what I'm saying, right? If the goal is to align Canada with the US, Mark Carney is doing a phenomenal job at making people want this, because now you have Alberta that wants to separate, Quebec's talking about separating, Saskatchewan is talking about separating, some portions of BC are talking about separating. Like, remember when he got elected, I said something along the lines that Mark Carney is going to be the last prime minister of Canada as we know it. And wherever I look, it's not good, and I see conspiracies. I'm just saying, if the end goal is a one world government, Trump would be the perfect person to make it happen, all in the name of the greater good. And again, is that what's happening or not? I don't know. But goddamn, if that was the goal, he'd be the perfect player to make it happen, considering, as you said, what he's been able to accomplish over the past year. Like, that dude, if there's one thing that's for sure, love or hate the guy, he moves the needle. He is not a believer in status quo at all. So
yeah, I mean, I saw something. Actually, I've seen a few times in the last couple of days on social media where Americans were saying, why don't we just offer some like sort of offer to Canadians to say, hey, we'll take any Canadian citizen who wants to come to America and get American citizenship. They get it just one for one. And they said that to sweeten the pot, we could convert. They could convert their assets one for one Canadian dollar assets into American. And the thinking was, because they were saying if it ever gets to like a war between America and Canada, they wouldn't even need to go that far. Just do something like that, and you take out 30% of Canada immediately.
Oh yeah. I want to take a comment because I think it's hilarious. But Short Circuit 3033 say, lol, I was watching Nico in the Conservative Corner thinking he was live. Gonna say, what a good speech. I was live. That was me being live. It was live. All the content I record on YouTube is live or comes from a live that I edited afterwards. But no, it was Short Circuit. If you were on the Conservative Corner, David Creighton's internet crap, and that was just me going on a massive rant. No, that was me. We do a lot of lives, bro. I probably recorded 500 lives over the past couple of years. So that's I think today is our 243rd episode over 1 year. That's how much
Is it
live
really?
you and I have. 200.
Wow.
I keep track, right? 243 episodes. And the funny part is that Rob and I have never met in real life.
Yeah, it's true, eh? Yeah.
No, that's fun. That's funny, but
fucking spend more time with you than probably anyone else in my life. Yeah, we've never met.
Well, considering the time that it takes you for your sexual performance, we definitely spend more time together than you do with women.
30 seconds there. Yeah, all right, get the fuck out.
It's just a thought and it's done.
Yeah, I was gonna thought. Yeah. All right, we're done. Done.
And it's done. A couple of things I wanted to say, because I wanted to talk about something else, but clearly we went over because we have a guest joining us at 7:30. We have the founder of the Canada First movement, Joe Anidjar, joining us in like 5 minutes. I wanted to talk about this. We might have to wait until Sunday because I'm sure it's still going to be there, but I wanted to speak about how today it's been announced that we're still investigating Grok, right, for all those sexualized pictures that I'm not able to see anywhere and I'm not able to produce myself. And God knows I've tried to ask Grok to show me some titties and they refuse to do it. They will not do it. So our government is still going after Grok, investigating Grok. But funny enough, I don't know if you saw that, but today they announced, Mélanie Joly announced that TikTok can stay in Canada. So we are investigating Grok while accepting the Communist Party's favorite app to remain in Canada. That's how hypocritical we are here. I wanted to go into more details. We won't have the choice, but won't have the time. Joe's joining us in the back, so I love another guy. He's definitely not a liberal because he's on fucking time, unlike my fucking co-host. But that being said, thanks, Joe. We got one more video, and then we'll bring you up. I can see that you're hearing us. So this video is going viral everywhere. I don't know if you've seen this. Somebody told me finally, I saw the video. There's millions of views on some of them. I'm like, does anybody know who this guy is? I want to talk to him. Somebody answered. I reached out to the guy, so hopefully we get him on the show. But all to say, I'm going to introduce it this way. Finally, a land acknowledgement that I can get behind.
Okay.
A deputation in a good way by acknowledging the people who fund this municipal enterprise, the Toronto taxpayer. Let's reflect and remember that every word spoken in this chamber, every light bulb, and every salary paid, including those of city councillors, is funded almost entirely by the hard work and earnings of taxpayers and property owners. Nearly all of the city's $18.9 billion budget comes directly from them. We acknowledge that while taxpayers and property owners have endured an almost 20% increase in the last 3 years, only a small and insulated group decides how much of their income is expropriated to sustain a burgeoning municipal bureaucracy that continues to grow regardless of outcomes and results. We pay respect to those taxpayers because without them, this institution could not indulge in ideological excesses like renaming streets and public squares, painting roads with inferior and environmentally damaging red paint, nor fund harm reduction programs that result in a steady stream of drug paraphernalia littering our streets, sidewalks, parks, and playgrounds. In this spirit of acknowledgement and with an eye to the future, we recognize the Toronto taxpayer and revere their tolerance for being taxed.
So this was said at a Toronto board meeting for the city of Toronto. And obviously that guy's not just a regular dude. Like, his speech was way too good. He's way too good of a speaker to just be a regular Joe off the street. Turns out that the name of this man is Daniel Tate. He's from Integrity Toronto. I reached out to him on Instagram. Hopefully I can get him on the show.
That'd be great. That'd be great.
He said that during a Toronto councillor meeting. This is epic. But that's the only land acknowledgement that I can definitely get behind.
Yeah, I like that one.
So you guys know, just a piece of FYI for you guys, I've been trying to find experts to come on the show to speak about the Chinese-Canadian relationship and see how bad it could become now that Mark Carney is aligning with China more and more. I reached out to an ex-colonel from the US that specializes in this. That hopefully is going to come on the show to give us the American version of what they see happening. I reached out to a few Canadians. but I'm not promising anything. I've been trying to get this guy for months, but it seems that I finally found someone that knows Sam Cooper that potentially can put me in touch with him, which he is the foremost expert. He's a journalist. He's great. If you don't know the guy, Sam Cooper's the shit. So it seems that I might.
He's a journalist?
He's an independent journalist that specializes in the China infiltration of Canada. I've been trying to get him on the.
Or is he
no,
NBC?
No, as far as I know, he's Canadian. So
okay. I think I know who you're talking about.
Dude,
yeah, he
the dude is just. I've been trying to get him for so long, but he's busy. He don't got time for me. But it seems that we might have an in. I'm not promising anything, but I'm doing my best. On that note, Joe, you good to go? Thumbs up. Yeah, brother. So tonight we're joined, and I apologize if I'm destroying your name because I think I will. So my apologies, bro. But tonight we are joined by the founder of the Canada First movement, Joe Anidjar. Joe, what is going on, brother?
Beautifully said, my friend. Guys, thank you for having me on. And I'm used to people butchering my last name, but it's all good.
All you need is a French guy from Montreal not to butcher it, right?
Well, yeah, the accent kind of, you get a pass with the accent. I like that accent you got there, big guy.
Well, thank you, man. And you know, it's funny because I've tried to have you on a few times.
Yeah.
And funny enough, you know, I didn't tell you that, Rob, but on Sunday we had Freck on the show.
The guy, I'm not
call him Freak, although I would be called Freak. If that was my name, I would want people to call me Freak.
That's how you spelt it? Yeah.
But Freck Shep was on the show, and you know, I asked him, I'm like, what's different between what you're doing and what Joe's doing with the Canada First movement? He saw the show and he's like, hey, bro, we need to talk. So here you are. That's why he's here, because he reached out to me on Instagram. So Joe, thanks for being here. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely.
Let's start with an easy one for you. Explain to us what the Canada First movement is all about.
Absolutely. Well, I started the movement back June 2024. I felt there wasn't a lot of attention being put on the mass immigration issue in our country. There wasn't any rallies. There wasn't much talk online about it. It was kind of taboo to talk about the mass immigration at that time. So I figured, hey, look, why don't I try to be a little bit ballsy? Why don't I hold a mass immigration rally and build a group around putting our country and our needs first? So Canada First was born. Our goal was to put our needs before any other countries first. And with the Liberal government that we currently have, that's, far from the case. So we don't only focus on mass immigration, but right now, in my opinion, it's probably the biggest issue in our country. And it's correlated to about, I would say, 90% of the issues in this country.
100%, 100% on that. We definitely we touched on this argument a lot, and that's one of the main things we take on our takes is that you can't when you're talking about immigration, you're not just talking about immigration. You're talking about healthcare. You're talking about infrastructure. You're talking about education. You're talking about everything, right? So it's a great point. Well, you go ahead.
Well, as you were saying, it has an effect on our healthcare. I mean, people are dying waiting for appointments. I've walked into walk-in clinics where it's absolutely rammed. Our housing is not available. It's scarce. People are having a hard time finding homes. Also, the price, which kind of prices out a lot of people. So it really has this trickle-down effect. And that's why I'm like so just focus on the mass immigration, because once we clean that up, once we start sending people back home where they came from, then we'll be in a better place. And then we can kind of restructure what we got going on here.
You're kind of bringing up a very easy point that I wanted to ask you about the remigration part of this whole thing. But
sure.
Before I do that, I'm not trying to put you on the spot or anything here, but we have a lot of comments, right? That we do this live because we want to interact with our listeners, and our listeners are not shy, very smart people, but they don't give a fuck. They're going to say what they want to say, however it sounds. And it kind of makes me realize, there you go. But it makes me realize that, I'm one of those guys that you either love or you hate. And I think I'm more hated than I'm loved because of what I talk about all the time, and that's fine. I'm a Christian. At the end of the day, I signed up for this shit.
Yes,
but
sir.
For you, I'm just seeing some of the comments, and some of the people don't like you. Does it bother you that you're probably more hated than you are loved?
No, because usually when you're doing things like I'm doing, you're gonna get hate. I mean, the most powerful man in the world right now is the most hated man in the world, and he is dominating. So, you know, when you put your balls on the line, you're going to get a lot of hate from the keyboard warriors. You know, some of them are jealous. Some of them are haters. Some of them are just, you know, bots and trolls that, you know, just try to get you off your game. But for me, I don't listen to the noise. I'm a hockey player. I'm a hockey coach. I tune out those fuckers, if you know what I mean. And, you know, eventually, you know, the people that, you know, take the time to get to know who I am, they see a genuine, real person and a guy who puts this country first. And no one that comes to my events or rallies can say any different. And I guarantee you ask them, they would tell you that Joe's a real guy, and hate me or not, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing.
So basically, you were describing Mark Carney, right?
No, I was describing Donald Trump.
Of course, I'm just fucking with you.
Is that the leader of the free world?
He's a clown.
Yeah. Well, ain't that the truth?
Joe, so you said you.
No, go ahead, Rob.
You said you started your group in June 2024.
Yeah.
So about a year and a half ago, and you know, as you said, you know, I think anyone who had their ear to the street on politics understands what you mean when you say it was taboo. You cannot talk about this. Now, it seems like, from my opinion, things are shifting a little bit, and you can talk about it. And most of that's because of what's going down in the States. You know, I don't think it's Pierre Poilievre is any huge help. But what are you seeing on the ground? Are you seeing that people are actually able to talk about this now in a way they couldn't a year and a half ago?
Well, that was another point of why I wanted to create Canada First and the movement, is to make people comfortable with talking about this issue, to make it, I guess, to change political opinions in, number one, Toronto. You got to remember, I live in Toronto. It's a liberal central. It's a tough nut to crack. And that's where I get the majority of my hate. The people in the West love me. The people in Northern Ontario love me. You know, there's some groups out there that aren't fond of me, but have no idea who I am. But, you know, it's about changing political opinions. That's what I'm focused on, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. And yes, I'm seeing that, you know, grow. I mean, we've held 6 events now. You know, each one grows. It's not the Iran protest by any means, which is another topic I would love to, you know, go on. But, you know, that's
You're kind of stealing my thunder. Stop it.
But
Stop stealing my thunder.
Questions before you're going to ask me, brother.
Well, that was the question. At the end of the day, I know that that's what got you to contact me. Is kind of the comments that I made on Sunday last week. No, Sunday. Yeah, it was Sunday when Freck came on the show. And I wanted to ask you this. So last Friday, we saw a march in Toronto that brought 10,000s of people. Some people say above 100,000 in support for what's currently happening in Iran. Why do you think so many people are showing up to something that's happening in the Middle East, but are not showing up at your protest, for example, for something that's happening right here in Canada? They don't understand that what's happening in Iran happened in the 70s. It was a Muslim invasion. The people let it happen. They're like, oh, under inclusiveness, we're going to let them come here. They took over. And what happened when they had enough people? They turned that government over to a Muslim government. And we're seeing the beginning stages of this. Our government right now is trying to censor us through surveillance and censorship bill C2, C8, C9, C12, C16, C63. They're pushing a gun grab right now. Yet people are going to show up for something that's happening in Iran that the feminists out there should support. By the way, if you're a feminist and you don't support the women in Iran, you're not a fucking feminist. Pointing it out there. But why are people showing up for a protest that's happening, to march in support of a protest that's happening in the Middle East, but will not do the same thing for what's happening in Canada right now, right in front of their eyes?
Well, that's a product of multiculturalism, right? It's, you know, the more people we bring to our country that, number one, don't share our values, aren't in line with our way of life, they hate our way of life, we get further and further away from who we are. Our history gets erased, our passports are changed, all to bend the knee to people coming in just so their feelings aren't hurt. God bless to the people in Iran, or not in Iran, and the people that have marched in the streets here in Toronto. But there's a reason I want to make a point here. There's a reason that when I hold a Canada First rally, there's a reason why I say Canada flags only, because it's to push the point that we have our problems here. Okay, we can only be so virtuous. And like, people are going to be virtuous until they're in their deathbed, it seems, in this country. And, with Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney, describing Canada as a post-national state, people have lost who we are. People have lost what makes a Canadian, what this country was founded on. So that's what Canada First is here to do, to revitalize that, to bring that back to the forefront, to always put our country first before any other country. And, as things move along, the opinions will change, the groups will get bigger, and we're going to keep trucking on. And I invite everyone, not from any country, who is fed up with the government and the mass immigration issue to our country. This isn't a racial issue. This is a common sense issue.
Let me ask you this, because as you were talking, I saw this today. I haven't had time to speak about it. I wanted to bring it up, so you're kind of allowing me to do this. But what you're describing there with multiculturalism kind of reminded me of this. Like, somebody posted that on X today. Did you guys see it? Did you see that?
Oh boy!
And for the people out there, if you're listening to this, you're just listening to the MP3. It's the new 2026 Ontario Fishing Regulations Summary that someone found at Canadian Tire. It's an Indian father and an Indian daughter fishing. That's what's on the front of the Ontario Fishing Regulations Summary for 2026. That is issued by the Ontario government. So,
unbelievable.
I want to ask the people out there, the people that are seeing this right now, what comes to mind when you see this? And Rob and Joe, I want to know what your answer is, because I'm seeing the question being asked obviously there's a question I need to ask you afterwards, but tell me what you guys think about this. When you see two Indian people on the cover of something that is extremely white, like, let's be honest here. I grew up with a lot of black guys. They don't. But they don't fucking hunt.
They don't even use rods. They don't use them. They use.
Like to see the ski resort photos next. It's gonna be all brown. Yeah, and it's not like these guys are paying attention to regulations, anyways. I mean, for me, when I see that shit, the stuff that I think is like, the whole thing that about the left, like the far left, was about equal representation, right? Equal representation. Okay, so why are we seeing 0% of white people anywhere? Because we still are 70% of the. Like, if you want to make let's say there's 10% brown people. If you want to make 10% of all government publications have brown people in them, I don't have a problem with that. That's equal representation. But we're seeing 0 white people. And to your point, it's like, it's like we have to be proud of everyone's culture but our own. Celebrate everyone's race but our own. And I'm okay if you don't want to celebrate anyone's race or anyone's culture. I'm cool with that. But when you start telling us we have to celebrate everyone else's but not our own, I have a real problem with that.
Totally.
Joe, what are you thinking? What are you thinking when you see this?
Well, first, it blows my mind. It just shows you that we've lost our way. We've lost our way. And, this is kind of like proving the whole point on this whole replacement theory, right? Millions and millions of people from the same area. It's not like it's spread out across countries, guys. You're bringing specific people from a specific country, and it's overwhelming, okay? Like you were saying, and let's just say Brampton, for instance. maybe that magazine would be good there. But when you're putting this nationwide, you know, I watch even commercials, guys, and it's like it's everyone but a white person in that commercial, whether
it's nowhere near equal representation.
Which is what they've been going for. With DEI and all this garbage, you know, we've lost our way from being a merit-based country where, you know, you earn your keep, you work your ass off, and, you know, and the things that the old immigrants did, you know, the people who came here years ago, they didn't get handouts. They didn't get their livelihoods paid for. They didn't get room and board. They didn't get food. They had to work 3 fucking jobs and raise families. But now you got people in here living off the backs of Canadians, hard-working Canadians. And guys, I'm sorry, I get fired up about this, and this is how you know I'm passionate, man. This is a battle that Canada needs to start talking about and getting extremely loud, because your future, I have 2 boys. My job as a father is to provide a better future for them than I had. And by the looks of things, it's never going to happen. So you can love me or hate me. I don't give 2 fucks. This is common sense, people. Wake up.
100%. Let me ask you this, because this is a question that keeps on coming up in the comments. And obviously I was going to ask you this question because that's a question anybody that talks about immigration, remigration, about we need to address what it is to be in Canada, I need to ask them the question, because if you listen to Mark Carney, being a Canadian, Canada thrives because we are Canadian. So that's what he said today. That's that is some very deep thought right there. Like, I can't believe that he was able to say this. Very intelligent man right there. But I want to ask you, what's a Canadian? What's your definition of a Canadian?
Well, let's get back to history, guys. Okay, this country was built by the English, the French, the Scots, and the Irish. They came here, they settled, they made this country, and then over time, European diaspora came in, made this country. Around 1960 through, 62, 63, when Trudeau came in, the senior, that's when multiculturalism started. Am I wrong or right on that? I'm pretty sure it was roughly around that time that started bringing different people to our country and make it more of a multicultural honeypot. But people have lost the fact that that's not how it always was. Canada back in the day was a predominantly white Christian nation. This is a Christian nation built on Christian values. And that's one thing that has been lost in this country. You know, this country has lost, all I guess, touch with God and those values. And I love exposing those people because most of them are on the left, the Antifa types, the people that I deal with on my rallies that want to kill me. I get death threats all the time. It's not easy out here, guys. Like, it's when you do things like I'm doing and you're as loud as I'm doing it, you're putting your balls on the table and your ass on the line. So it's that's what it is.
Actually, I think your camera messed up on you, but I was just looking at the information. And again, like I was saying, we have some very, very smart listeners, because Wild 1975 Flower is saying that Pierre Trudeau's brainchild, multiculturalism, is started in 1972. It looks like it began officially on October 8th, 1971 by Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau, the adoptive father of Justin Fidel Trudeau. And it really became a big deal in 1988 when the Canadian Multiculturalism Act passed. So it's insane, because 1988, that means I was 6 years old. I was born in 1982. So I don't know a Canada that is not multicultural.
Either do I.
Right?
Neither do I.
I don't know what it is, and Rob is around the same age as I do too, so we don't know this. But to go back to my question, what do you consider to be a Canadian? Like, I'm really looking for kind of a specific answer, because everybody tends to dance around the question. People tell me that we need remigration, and I fucking agree. But it's very hard for them to tell me.
Yeah, you have to figure out who we're kicking out.
Totally, guys.
Or who should be here, so that we know who we need to get rid of. Yes.
So I'll give you my stance on immigration and remigration. So my stance on what makes, on a Canadian is, if you're going to come to this country, you're going to respect our way of life. You're going to respect our laws. You're going to respect our anthem. You're going to respect just the way we do things. You're not going to come here and impose your way of life that you fled. Okay. You came to this country for a reason, right? To get away from the garbage, from the oppression, from the religious Islamic regime, for the most part, that we're seeing out here. I mean, I'm really big on talking about the Islamic invasion of our country, the same that we see in the United States, the same, just 10 times bigger in the UK. I tell everybody this all the time. Look what's happening in Europe. Take that as a stark warning, okay? Because all mass immigration is causing chaos. And what happens when there's too much chaos, guys? They're going to have to control the chaos, correct? So the way they're going to do it is with the digital ID. And that's, they already talked about that in the UK. I know that's up and down over there, but it has to be there's a testing ground always, right? Who's going to be that testing ground? Is it going to be Canada? We're in the middle of a lot of shit right now, a lot. And then you got people marching for Iran in our streets rather than for Canada. We have a serious problem, guys. It's not like, I feel like people are out of touch with, it's like they're a shell of themselves. They don't know, who they are as a Canadian anymore. The pride's not there. The passion, the fire. It's just, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, Joe, just to add on to the question you were answering there, like, was the Canadian? And it seems to me, and correct me, I don't want to put words in my mouth, but it seems to me you're not anti-immigration per se, more anti-mass migration, and you're very much pro assimilation and integration once you get here, because and that's more or less how I feel too. I think to a certain extent we probably need a certain amount of immigration, and I think up until probably 15 years ago or so, it was more or less done the right way. It was done. We picked and choose the best of the best from the rest of the world.
Boom.
And then we expected them to assimilate, and they wanted to assimilate. When I was growing up, someone from India, maybe I went to school with someone who came here as a baby, and I know their parents were always among the most patriotic people I knew. Because they knew what it meant to come here. And now you open the doors, lower the barriers. There's no sense of what you're actually getting with Canadian citizenship. So it sounds like me and you are on the same place.
Totally. And I said this earlier, you're going to if you bring people that don't share your values, it's going to cause chaos. They're not going to adapt. They're not going to assimilate. You're delusional if you think that. Okay. So, remigration, I think we should be at least looking at the people that were brought in during the Trudeau years. Totally. Because
I agree with this. Yeah.
The reason I say this is due to the fact that he was the one that was, Biden as well, with their open borders. We didn't vet them. We didn't screen them. We don't know who they are. Canada has become a hub for terrorists. Prove me wrong.
Yep.
Well, this is always this is the portion I always find interesting, because we had the co-founder and chairman of the Dominion Society, Daniel Terry, on the show a few weeks ago to speak about remigration, for them to give us their idea of remigration. And, I agree with about 90% of what they say. Like, the idea is great. What I don't agree with them is, what is your definition of a Canadian?
True.
This is where we stuck, and I kept on pushing back on his definition, because I'm the perfect example. So my family on both sides, my mother and my mother and my father, their family's been here for 300-400 years. Like, we've been in Canada forever. We're old stock Europeans from France and Switzerland. So we are as Canadian as they come by anybody's definition.
Right.
Now, my wife was born here, but she was born Like she's born in Canada, but she was born, her father's an immigrant. He's from Italy. He arrived here. He was in his early 20s. Her mother was born here, but her two parents are immigrants that immigrated here during their lives. As per the definition of the Dominion Society, at least Daniel Tyree, my son is only half Canadian because my wife is not Canadian. And this is the part that me neither. Like at the end of the day, I don't really care that you're black, you're white, you come from the Middle East, you come from wherever. If you're here to make this country better, to respect the culture, really to values, not try to turn it, and the culture, you're not trying to turn it into the third world country from where you come from. Like if that's your intent, get the fuck out of here.
Totally.
That is how I see it. Now, the problem is that where does it end? Because right now we're seeing the past 15 years of everything. If let's say we agree, for sake of argument, that this is what a Canadian is. A Canadian is somebody that comes here to respect the values of Canada, to kind of get a better life for their families, but they're coming here not to take advantage of our system, but to participate. We need to put laws in place. I don't think a foreigner should be allowed to run as a member of parliament. I don't think they should be allowed to represent the people if you weren't born here. No fucking way. So there's quite a few things I believe should be put in place in order to stop that change that we're seeing happening right now. But if we agree that that's what a Canadian is, what about remigration? What do we do in order to get, let's say, the past 15 years of people? Because it started under Harper. Harper passed those immigration laws, slacking those immigration laws. Because I remember, man, when I was in college in my early 20s, I was in class with some guy from Africa. And he explained to me how he needed to prove that he had all the money to be able to cover his expenses for the 2-3 years of the program. He needed to prove to Canada that he could supply his money, that he couldn't. It was not allowed for him to be dependent on the system. That was 20 years ago. Obviously, that has changed. But in your opinion, what needs to be done if we agree on what a Canadian is? Because it's a slack. It's kind of a slack definition, right? Because anybody could say that they fit into that. Like, this is the part, right? This is what I find so hard to identify when it comes to the remigration conversation is, what's a Canadian? Does it need to be multi-generational? Are you a Canadian if you're first generation? Is it possible to become a Canadian when you just immigrated here because you want to take advantage? You don't want to take advantage of the system. You want to participate and make it better. This is always the problem. Like, what is our basis for being a Canadian, and how do we enforce that? How do we select the people that we don't want, that shouldn't be here, that should have never been allowed here?
Leave. Before you answer that,
well,
Joe,
they shouldn't have been here, but they should have been here in the first place, right? That's the thing.
Yeah,
exactly.
And just before you answer that, Joe, I'm just going to very quickly give you something to riff off of. This is actually an answer to that from the comment to Rusty Wiener, which I thought was a pretty good answer to Nico's question of who do we get rid of? And you can let us know what you think. He says, personally, I'd start with the obviously illegal immigrants, overstays and lawbreakers, then go into the universities to demand to see the books. I mean, to me, that sounds like a pretty solid plan. What's your take on that, Joe?
Well, yeah. I mean, I always say, my focus is the illegals, the terrorists, the criminals, the fraud student visas. They all need to be sent back home.
That's going to take 5 years anyways, right? That's going to be a little while.
And I know this is going to blow people's mind by me saying this. You see what's happening in the U.S., right?
Yep.
I think Canada needs ICE.
Yep.
I'll tell you why. Because we, I believe, lost, I think it was roughly around 30,000 ready-to-be deportees. We lost them. We become the hub for terrorists in this country. We have Sikhs and Khalistanis fighting. We have people from Palestine and Israel going at each other. You know, this is all chaos, and it's deliberate chaos. So in order to stop this and gain some control back on our streets, we need to start looking at these people and who they really are, because a lot of these people, especially the fraud student visas, are just sitting here waiting to be deported. You know, they have no right to be here. You come here, you do your school, you go back home. And then you try to come back the right way. That's what it's about. You come here, you do it the right way. And yes.
And unfortunately, right now, they can apply for a student can apply for asylum while he's here on a student visa. This is the reality in which we live. And we're looking, as per the latest information we received from Immigration Canada, the new demands, or it takes about 4 years to process a new asylum seeker request right now. So those people are staying here. We pay for them. We're running out of time, Joe. We're basically on the time. I want to I don't know if there's something you wanted to say, because this is a conversation, unfortunately, that could last for a very long time. But was there? I want to thank you first and foremost for showing up. Thanks for reaching out to me after you heard the video. Hopefully, it wasn't too insulting. But what I was going to say is there something that you want to leave our listeners with? Anything you need to plug or anything like that?
Well, first off, Rob and Nico, I want to thank you for having me on. It was a great chat, and we could definitely have a much longer chat at some other time. I think we could have gone on for at least 2 hours.
Oh yeah, hours.
I also want to say, you know, for the people who, you know, have seen the Canada First movement and what it's becoming, you know, the vibe is real, guys. This is a movement that is on the forefront of the mass immigration problem in Toronto. Yes, there are other groups, but I'm trying to bring everyone together under one banner so that we can fight all together. Because if we have one group here, one group, you know, in all different provinces, it's never going to help. We need to show up in numbers, and the Canada First movement is the only movement that's out here consistently speaking these types of truths. So I invite everybody to join us. You can go check us out at www.canadafirstmovement.ca. You can see what we're about. You can also follow me on @PuckDaddy93. If you ever want to know more about the Canada First movement, call me, get in touch with me. And, you know, before, you know, making your judgments. That's all I ask.
Thank you very much for your time, Joe.
Yeah, appreciate your time, sir. Great chat. Hopefully having you back on.
Have a good day, man.
Definitely, guys. We'll talk soon.
Peace.
Bye. So there we have it, man.
Great chat.
Yeah, I'm happy he reached out. I'm happy that he contacted me after he saw the video with Freck. I'm always gonna. I know his name's Freck, but I'm always gonna call him Freak, because I would want to be called a freak if that was my name. So, yeah.
That was good. It was a good chat.
Conversation.
It was. Yeah, I like his passion. He's clearly. It's important to him.
You know, it always reminds me when people like that reach out, like behind closed doors, just like, hey, bro, I was listening to your show, and that's not quite accurate, or that's not how I would say it, or I'd like to have the conversation. I'm like, man, it's always hard to understand the impact you're having live, because I'm just sitting in a home studio talking into a camera and a microphone. So you never really understand what's behind who is listening, who's paying attention. So it's always interesting to see that. I'm happy he reached out, and yeah, I'm gonna, like I said, guys, I'm working. Hopefully you've liked the guests we had this week, because man, we had one every single day. Like, we've had 5 guests this week. So I'd like to continue doing that. I'd like to get guests every couple of shows, every show. Like, it really depends on what's going on. But I'm really working. I really enjoyed the chat today, obviously, but yesterday was one of my favorite interviews we've done. I re-listened to it today, and it was solid. Really, like really solid. So I'm really looking to bring higher and higher quality guests all the time. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the conversation, you're enjoying the interviews, because we do it for you guys at the end of the day. That's why we do it. So hopefully you enjoyed it, hopefully you liked it, and if you did, make sure to like like the stream, comment. Obviously, we're all about the comments, but don't be scared to subscribe and let us know who you'd like to have on, because I know I've seen the suggestion for Sam Cooper, but Sam Cooper is not an easy guy to get, so I've been working on it. Hopefully I do get him, but let me know who you guys want to have on, and I'm going to continue reaching out to people as topics develop. Like the China one is definitely something I would like to have multiple experts on. Someone from Canada, someone from the US, someone from China if they have the balls. So yeah.
China. Yeah, no, that'd be great.
China.
All right, guys. We are going to put a pin in it there. Excellent week, excellent show. If you are just tuning in and you want to support the show, please consider becoming a member. You can do that through YouTube for the low price of $2.99 per month. You can also buy us a coffee it's in the left-hand corner today, which is a little unusual, but we'll go with that. You can also just keep coming back, keep commenting, because that also helps support the show, helps us with the algorithm. Guys, it's going to be a hell of a storm in certain places over the weekend and very cold. So stay safe, stay warm, and we'll catch you Sunday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Have a great weekend.
Peace.